Today's topic is listen before judging. Hi, thank you for joining me for Case Corner, and this is my 10-minute Tuesday talk. So, the main thing that I want you to take from this episode is the fact that a person's perspective is their truth. Now, that means that no matter how illogical you think it is, it may make sense to them. There are going to be some topics that I'm going to go over in reference to things that shock us, but if you're one of those people who, when someone says something and you think it makes no sense, or you don't agree with what they're saying and they can read it all over your face, I'm talking to you. And I know this from experience because people have often told me that if I don't like something, you know it. If I don't agree with something, you know it. So today's topic is something that I have to work on for myself too, because there are going to be times when people are going to say things that you don't agree with, and you can't just instantly judge them. And with age, that becomes difficult, especially when we're talking to millennials sometimes. And some of the things I'm going to talk about is sexuality, when our kids talk to us about those things, when our kids choose friends or they're hanging around people that we don't like, about how to, there's a difference between assessing a situation and guiding someone into the right direction versus just completely being judgmental and making them feel like you're right and they're wrong. So one of the first things you got to do is work on your facial expressions. That's one of the first things that I have to do, because sometimes people say things to us even at work. Say, for instance, someone said something to you about another coworker, or in my line of profession, if someone even says something negative about a student, I'm quick to look at that person kind of sideways and be like, okay, where are you going with this? But sometimes we just have to listen and hear people out. When I deal with parents, that's one of the things that I have to really talk to them about. Regardless of how silly it sounds, Lord have mercy, you got to listen and hear them out. So, person's perspective is their truth, meaning their experiences in the world lead them to think differently than you do. Because my child has not lived 48 years. Your child has not lived as long as you have lived. And the people that you surround yourself with every day, they haven't had your experiences and you have not had theirs. So when people come to certain conclusions, we've got to understand that those conclusions come from the context of their experiences. And just because we've had different experiences doesn't mean we're necessarily right. So sometimes we've got to allow people to make their own decisions, and even if we're right sometimes, because we've seen it happen and we've been there and we've done that, we've got to guide them into understanding what's right or wrong. So how do we do that? First, we've got to get all the information. If someone says something to you, listen, watch your tone, watch your facial expressions, and get all of the information. One of the things that you might say is, okay, I think I need to know more about this. I'm concentrating on my facial expressions. Sometimes people are going to say things that you don't agree with, and you may have to say something like, okay, let me think about this for a minute, and ask them more questions. But one of the key things that you must ask is, all right, you have to say, all right, I hear you, but I don't quite agree. But what I want to know from you is, how is this going to benefit your life? And if they can tell you how it benefits their life, then you might say, okay, especially if you don't agree with it and you've seen this kind of thing happen before, and you kind of see and understand their rationale. You say, okay, you're giving me the benefits, but how could this be detrimental to your life? And then talk those things through. But if you notice, you are guiding and allowing them to come to their own conclusions. Now, a very sensitive subject today is sexuality. Now, when we were growing up, it seemed, now all I can say is it seemed that sexuality, and there was no such thing as choice of sexuality. Either you like boys, girls like boys, or boys like girls, and for the most part, if you didn't, that was something different for most of us. So when our children today, there are many parents out there dealing with kids who think or believe in a person's perspective is their truth, that they are bisexual. For me and my generation, that's a hard one, because we're okay if you are a young lady and you like a young lady, and that's definitely what you know, but or vice versa. But we're just uncomfortable with, and we don't understand those who consider themselves bisexual. So we've got a lot of young people experimenting with that. And parents, if your child comes to you and says that I like boys and girls, I'm not telling you how to handle that. What I am telling you is that you cannot overreact. You cannot judge before hearing them out. And one of the key things that you got to ask them is, what are the benefits? Gotta listen. No facial expressions, no judging. So what are some of the problems that you're gonna encounter? You're gonna also have to talk about, what are some of the things that people in society say about your particular choice? And if they understand the full picture, because being different is not easy, but being different is not wrong. And what most of us want is for our children not to make decisions that affect their lives in the long run, and just really hurt them, because there's some things that we know that you can't pull back from. So we got to be honest. We have to allow them to be honest. There are going to be a lot of things that we deal with, that they deal with, and we won't quite understand them, and they won't quite understand us. But I know it's going to be hard. You've got to listen. So just remember, watch those facial expressions. If you're shocked, you're going to say, okay, I think I need to hear a little bit more about this. Once you hear it from their side, then you say, okay, I see where you're going. So how's this going to benefit your life? And if they can tell you how it's going to benefit their lives, then you say, okay, well, I see you thought about that. Can you tell me how this might be a detriment to your life? And then you talk about those things. And then you got to ask that person, or ask that child, are you ready for what this decision comes with? So that's my 10-minute Tuesday talk. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next Tuesday.